Hello and welcome to episode 54 of Typical Chicago Fans, presented by From the Sideline. One of the biggest episodes we've done is today.
Yeah, absolutely.
We had Eddie Barstool on, a great interview with him, doing so much for the Chicago Barstool. He has multiple podcasts under the Barstool umbrella, and it was a great interview. We got to talk about the Bears' misery.
Yep, and kind of a caveat, if you've been listening to us for a while, he is, and you don't follow Barstool Chicago, he is a co-host along with Barstool Chief, who we had on during the hockey season last year. So those guys work together with Carl and White Sox Dave in the Chicago Barstool offices. So it was great to have Eddie on. I've been listening to his stuff for a long time. I listen to his daily podcast every single day, Chicago Dog Walk.
Especially when you listen to a podcast that is daily, you start to get almost form a friendship
right? Yeah, you feel like you know a guy.
It's every day.
I asked you, I'm like, oh, is he a North Side guy? I'm pretty sure they talked about that. I know he went to SIU, and I've never met the guy, but I feel like I know something about him. So great dude.
Even if you listen to his podcast, though, you just realize he is the nicest person ever.
Yes.
And he's just so Chicago.
100%.
It's beautiful.
100%.
But let's move. Well, wait, we gotta get to it. If you want to follow me on Twitter, if you're not watching us on YouTube, it's above me if you're on YouTube. But if you want to follow me on Twitter, like I said, at ZLilja, LILJA, the main page is at typical_Chicago. If you want to follow From the Sideline, if you can just type in From the Sideline or on your phone, computer, wherever you're doing that on. Or you can just go, and it's at Sideline. The first I in Sideline is a 1 Sports. Again, that is at Sideline. The first I in Sideline is a 1 Sports. But we also do a weekday show. We have changed it. We're going to change it up a little bit here.
Make sure you're paying attention this week because there's big news coming this week.
Maybe we'll talk about it here at the end of the podcast about some of the stuff we're doing with that. We're doing a rebranding of our former weekdays with TCF. Mm-hmm. It will still be on weekdays, or maybe not. We're going to be usually doing it on the weekday.
Yep.
But we're just kind of changing it up here. We've been doing so many of them that we're kind of trying to change up a little bit. We've been getting some great interaction with the fans, but we know maybe this will help us get a lot more interaction. We're going to be doing a new logo, everything with that. We've also got some big news, hopefully coming on the podcast front, with maybe some new help.
Yeah.
We've been looking out for that because we've been doing this for a while, but we want to really try and get it pumped in a different way, not a different way, but just in videos and stuff. We can only do so much.
Right,
we work, and then we do the podcast, and all that, the videos, all that. So hopefully we'll have some news on that soon. But also on Facebook, From the Sideline, Instagram, we're about to do. We're going to do it after the podcast today, but we're still going to call it the pre-podcast ping pong. But we're going to do Instagram live for that. So if you're watching, you already know who won. But that'll be exciting for us. We've been doing a lot of it. I think this will be our close to 20.
This will be our 23rd game.
23rd game, so that'll be exciting. For if you follow us on Instagram, you'll get that little notification real quick, or we'll leave it up there. We'll also strip it off there and put it on our Twitter. And then, what was it, Instagram? And From the Sideline on Instagram. I kind of got all into that.
Yeah. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at BoomyTCF. All of the podcasts are on Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts. I almost said Apple Music.
We're making albums.
Yeah, we're going to drop some hits, some bangers. But no, Apple Podcasts, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review there. If you're not, you can find us on Spotify. Make sure you follow us there. And head on over to the YouTube page. I spent legitimately 5 hours. Just go to the YouTube page and click subscribe on Typical Chicago Fans. Type it in the little search bar up top. There's a red. I spent 5 hours uploading. Me and Zach looked at each other at the end of last week and we're like, hey, have you been uploading the YouTube videos? He's like, I thought you have. And I was like, I thought you have. And we realized we haven't uploaded any of our YouTube videos since the middle of June. So I spent about 5 hours this weekend getting them all uploaded. So the least you can do is head on over to our YouTube page, type in Typical Chicago Fans, and hit the red subscribe button. And if you want to check up or catch up on our former episodes of our weekday show, there's plenty of good stuff in there and plenty of good stuff coming too. So.
We also got a food review if I can get the video uploaded to my computer. I'm definitely going to be switching over to a Mac soon because if you can't, I don't know if you can tell from this angle, but this is not And it's not good with filming it on my phone and then trying to get on the computer. It doesn't really like that a lot, so
sure.
kind of get annoying. But let's get into our sinkers and floaters. I'm going to get to my sinker real quick here.
Go ahead.
The Golden State Warriors.
Oh.
They are bad.
Yikes.
They lost 120-92 to OKC, who's not a very good team. And they were down by like 40 at one point.
Oh, man.
Clay's out for the year. Steph, I mean, poor guy. I don't feel bad for him.
No, not at all.
But how crazy it can go from you were in the NBA Finals to this.
Just getting routed.
To this.
Yeah.
You're routed. And there's no upside to any of this. You're not in a good spot. You're not really going to get people to really come there.
Maybe Kevin Durant was really the glue that held that together. I mean, he's really the only one that's not there anymore.
Yeah, and Clay's out.
Yeah, well, Clay's out with the knee, but still.
And
I just feel like adding Klay Thompson, that makes him better, but does it make him back to a world champion contender? I just disagree. I just don't see it.
That's basketball, though. Yeah. So my sinker is the Golden State Warriors. They went from, like I said, the NBA Finals the last 2 or 3 years, probably 5 or 6 times in the last 7 years or so, 8 years. And I can't remember the last time
someone else won the West.
Yeah, who was the last one to win the West? I can't even think about it.
That's a good question. Maybe the Mavs or the Spurs. Spurs, yeah.
Oh, yeah, but so that's just crazy. And a basketball turnaround like that usually doesn't happen that quickly, but they may be one of the worst teams in the league this year.
Yeah, I think they won't finish there, but they don't look good to start.
Who knows?
Sinker, on the other hand, is Halloween. I'm probably in the minority here. I don't like Halloween. I've never been. I actually, it's weird. I like scary movies, but me and my wife were talking the other day, and there's so many that I've never seen that are considered like cult classics. You know, like The Shining and all these other different movies. The Exorcist. I've never seen them, but I get it, right? Like I understand the concept. I understand what they're trying to get at. But like I don't know, man. It's just not one of my favorite holidays. I never really liked it as a kid. It was okay, but I much prefer the other holidays.
I'm like not into Halloween movies either.
I like scary movies. I love scary movies.
Doesn't mean it's scary.
Right, but Halloween has just never really done it for me.
No, I'm just saying Halloween movies aren't always just scary. They're sometimes just weird.
Yeah, see, and I'm weird. I like the old like slasher movies like Halloween and Friday the 13th. I don't like the new stuff like the paranormal or like the I guess paranormal is right word, like The Conjuring and like the stuff with the spirits and stuff like that doesn't do it for me. I like old school like slasher movies. Yeah, I watched Friday the 13th yesterday. I love that movie, but yeah, man, I don't know. Halloween just doesn't do it for me.
My floater's kind of going off of that. It's costumes.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of a dumb thing to say, yes, costumes for Halloween. But I think like people are just getting so creative nowadays.
Yeah.
And just like with the Pinterest and all those kind of ideas, people are just going wild. I don't really dress up for Halloween.
Yeah.
I'm not really into that much.
I'll put a baseball jersey on, a basketball jersey.
But people are just getting super creative nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
And the crazy outfits without even going to the store.
A lot of DIY homemade stuff.
Yeah, just random stuff people see on YouTube. They turn into costumes, just random characters. My biggest one is like Mush. He was Dr. Rat and like gambling things, and people were just dressing up as Dr. Rat.
Yeah,
like stuff like that. People are.
And I even thought about like if we were
creative.
going to go to like usually a friend of ours has a Halloween party, but they're not having it this year, so I don't think we're really doing anything for Halloween. I was going to dress up as either Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys or Big Cat from Barstool. Those were like my only two options.
You'd have to get the stash.
I was gonna go have to buy one because I wasn't playing in time. But no, I don't like Halloween. But yeah, you said people are super creative. My floater, on the other hand, is Love. Because Love, yes, it's great to see. A teenager has tried to break into a German prison in an attempt to win back his ex-girlfriend. So people might say Love is dead. I beg to differ. She was in prison. An 18-year-old, which, by the way, this kid,
you don't gotta break in, like she's not going anywhere.
Yeah, so this kid is 18. He tried to break in to get her out of jail, and they obviously caught him, or else we wouldn't have known about it. But yeah, people say Love is dead, and these Germans, these young German teenagers, just so deep, and they were exes too. He was trying to win her back. So don't you dare try to tell me that Love is dead.
Yeah,
the Germans beg to differ.
Yeah, you will
Of all people, I would not have anticipated.
I've never heard of a
Germans.
break into jail.
That's what I'm saying. That's what you break into jail.
Usually not how it goes. Usually the other way around. But yeah, I guess you're right. Love is in the air. That's as love as you can be.
Oh yeah.
Break into a jail.
Into jail.
That's wild. What would go through your mind?
I love my wife, but I don't think I'd ever break into prison for her.
Well, you could just go visit her normally.
Visiting hours.
Yeah, I mean,
thank God I don't think she listens to the podcast because I might.
She could just hear you.
Yeah, there's no way she's listening. So,
but let's get into it. Was NFL Week 8. We'll preview that right now.
The Bears are dead.
Yeah, we'll get more into it with Eddie, big Bears fan. He does a lot of Bears content. He does the halftime review. I feel bad for him in those halftime and post games because he's like, they used to be fun, now they're not.
And like I've always said this, like I am a Packers fan, but because of where I live and like the people that I listen to and the radio stations I listen to, like I know more about. I could name probably more Bears players than I could Packers players, just because of like listening to The Score and listening to Eddie and the guys at Barstool Chicago, and obviously being around you and just knowing, but like. Man, is it just a very different vibe than it was last year? And like I said, we'll get more into it, but
it sucks.
Is it just me, or does it feel like it's a little more like world collapsing? Like they're 3-4, okay? Like it's not like
and
they're
their
1-6.
coach is just Matt Nagy's just kind of being an asshole about all this.
Yeah, I agree there.
Some of this, it was Barstool Carl named it one of the worst press conferences ever after the game. It was. I thought it was just the way he was being rude to the people, trying to say 1,000 times I would have knelt the ball. My biggest thing is he goes, I'm not going to run the ball because first you may fumble. That's a lot of trust in your running back. That's nice to know. Or you'll lose 3 to 4 yards because they know you're going to run the ball.
Right.
That's crazy. But you lose 1 to 2 yards when you kneel the ball.
Yes.
So I don't get that logic. He said about throwing it. Yeah, you probably shouldn't throw it in that moment, but run the ball. If you have that little of trust in your running backs
then you
not
need to go get
fumble
a new
the ball,
back.
then you're going to need to go get new running backs because that is as low of trust as you can have in somebody. 40 yards, yes, you should be able to make a 40-yarder. But maybe you try and run it and make it a 35-yarder or a 30-yarder or something like that. I just didn't get the logic of kneeling the ball with something like 42 seconds left. Is when they could have went and ran the ball, but they let the clock go all the way down. I think overall, it sucks. Mitch, you're probably out on Mitch. You're probably going to have to move on from him after next year.
But hey, it's better that you found that out now.
But that's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about Nagy as a guy that was coach of the year. And it seems like this, maybe Mitch has, as Big Cat has said, maybe he broke his brain because of all this. Or I mean maybe Cody Parkey broke his brain.
Yeah.
But it just seems like you shouldn't be. If you are the coach that everyone thinks you are, you should not be should be saying stuff like that or overreacting in the moment of the press conference and saying stuff like that. It's just some of the stuff that he was saying yesterday just made me annoyed with the fact of, you don't think I know we should run it. Last week when he said, I'm not an idiot, I know we need to run it. Then he comes out this week and says, I would do it 1,000 out of 1,000 times and this and that about, that was as little trust as you can have in a running game.
Yeah.
Yes, you ran it. What did you run it 20-some times?
Yeah.
And they
it's
did
better
have a
than
good
7.
running game, but you didn't run it in the biggest moment of the game.
Yeah, man. It was just.
It was tough. It's
like
tough.
I said, we'll get into it deeper with Eddie, but to kind of not to pile on, but the Packers moved to 6-1,
6-1,
7-1, 6-1.
I think they're 6-1. They've had the bye.
I think we did have a bye,
and they are the clear favorites right now in the division.
And I think that's more because like they've been there. Where I think that San Francisco has a really, really solid football team.
In their division, I said they had.
Okay. I know.
Not in the NFC. I think the Niners are. I would say it's like 1-2 in the NFC. Would be those two.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say which one's which because it doesn't really matter at this point.
I mean, the 49ers are still undefeated. So,
yeah. So, I mean, at this point, they would be above them.
Yeah, Packers are 7-1. 7-1. Not 6-1.
Good for them.
Yep. But I thought, for Andy Reid, and we talked about this, Andy Reid showed me last night during that Packers game how good of a coach he actually is because he played Matt Moore as perfectly as a coach could play Matt Moore, right? They made Matt Moore be the least involved person they could have possibly been. I mean, everything was little dunk and dives and just hitting wide open passes and getting Shady McCoy the ball and getting Tyreek Hill the ball in open areas. They just made it very, very, very simple. It was like kind of when the Bears changed the play calling around for Chase Daniel and weren't throwing, the long, challenging routes. But, Kansas City's D-line, I'll give it up to them. Their D-line played well, kept pressure on Aaron Rodgers. But, my God, Aaron Rodgers made probably the greatest throw of the NFL season last night. Falling away, flipping the wrist up, catching it in the corner of the end zone. What a game. Let's get to the rest of the league. Thursday night, we had the Vikings taking down the Redskins. The Vikings are, in my mind, I just wrote okay. Like, they're good.
Don't know. They could be good. They could be bad. You don't really know.
Right.
They really haven't played that great teams. And then when they did, it looks like Kirk Cousins hasn't played very well.
Yeah.
Especially against the Bears. Ever since that game, the Bears have not played well.
And
so that
he has, yeah.
And that doesn't say much about, I guess, either guy.
Right.
Either guys. But I don't know. I don't have any trust in Kirk Cousins. And
as you shouldn't. He's done nothing to prove it.
But I think that, like I said, I've always said that two teams from this division will probably make the playoffs, and it's looking like it's going to be the Packers and Vikings.
Yeah. Yep.
It sucks to say because the Lions, they don't look like they have a team that can sustain for the full season.
Right.
It sucks. I mean, Matthew Stafford, if you really get down to it, his stats this year are MVP-like stats. I mean, he has great
we've
stats.
talked about this at length on the podcast over the last year and a half. Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Clearly he's not going to get MVP this year, but
Right.
he has great stats this year. His defense is kind of letting him down, and the running game's really not there.
Yeah, Kerryon Johnson is not becoming. And speaking of that, they beat I almost said San Francisco Giants. That's the wrong sport. The New York Giants, 31-26.
Daniel Jones looked pretty good.
Yeah, he's getting it done. I mean, he's doing those small things. Yeah, they don't expect to be competing this year, so I think for what he brings, I think he's going to be a serviceable quarterback, and a lot of Giants fans are going to have to eat crow when he's not this bust.
Would say gladly will, I think.
Yeah,
I
absolutely. Are the Rams back?
Yeah.
Now, granted, it's Cincinnati. They beat 24-10, but I mean they look bad.
They're staying in it.
Exactly, and they're taking care of bad opponents at the same time.
Yeah,
right. They whipped the piss out of the Falcons.
Not the Buccaneers.
Well, yeah, that was an anomaly though because the owner's dad had died. So
yeah,
I'll give them that. But yeah, they look good, but. Also, at the same time, I wasn't super impressed staying out in that division. I wasn't super impressed with the Seahawks. Only a 7-point win over the Falcons, and I think the Falcons might be one of the 3 worst teams in the NFL.
Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Schwab.
Matt Schwab, yeah.
I mean, they are.
Pick 6.
It's got to be between them. I guess the Dolphins are. We're watching the Monday night game, which is starting to look like the Dolphins aren't as, bad maybe with Fitzpatrick as their quarterback.
They were pretty bad with him early in the season, though, too. So
but they had Josh Rosen for a little bit, didn't they?
Yeah, but it was Fitzpatrick, then it was Rosen, now it's back to Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, I don't know what idiot would gamble against the Dolphins in tonight's game.
Oh, I know one. But yeah, I felt like the Seahawks they kind of let the Falcons hang around a little too long. I'm sorry. New Orleans to stay in that division. They're a wagon, dude. They brought Drew Brees back.
Why Drew Brees came back this week? I understand he wants to come back, but it wasn't a game really they needed him to come back, and I think Teddy Bridgewater could have taken care of it, and they have a bye next week, so that's just 2 extra weeks.
But maybe that's why they wanted to bring him back. They started him because if he does, he pulls up and says, hey, this doesn't feel right, then they have 2 weeks in order to get him ready.
I think he's that big of a competitor. I don't think
it was hard to keep him off the field, for sure.
If you really would look back at it, I would kind of want that extra week. But like I said, maybe he's a competitor. But my thing is, they were in a great situation. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater had played phenomenal since he was hurt.
He was my starting fantasy quarterback. I went in and checked literally an hour before the game.
A lot of people keep talking about maybe him being traded. I think he is going to stay and be the starting quarterback once Drew Brees retires. I think he's already settled on that. He's turned down teams in the past.
For sure. I like that a lot. I got 2 games for you that we can just throw out because who gives a rat's ass? The Bucks and the Titans, who cares? They both stink.
The Jets got screwed over.
Yeah, it the same. They both stink, so I don't care. Jets and Jags, who cares? So we can just throw those out.
I think the Jaguars could be a decent team.
Well, the nice thing that we've talked about for the Jags is like they play in a division that is very up for grabs. Now, kind of bringing that to this, the Texans can't close anyone out.
No,
the Raiders are not that good of a football team, and J.J. Watt's out for the year.
My goodness.
So I just think that with that combination, that division's wide open. Also in that division, we had the Colts letting the Broncos, who are a bad football team, stay close and had to win on a last-second field goal.
I get that,
the Colts at home should have been able to close that out.
Yeah, but they did. They won. And I understand what you mean, but it's the NFL. Every week's a tough win.
Yeah.
I think they, with their will of coming back, and they were really never in the lead, in control of that game throughout it because I gambled on it. But Vinatieri going out there hitting a game winner.
Whoever wins the AFC South is going to get, punched in the mouth in the first round of the playoffs. It's basically just an opportunity to win your division, get to the playoffs, and get smacked because there's no team in that division. And I'm the one having to eat crow. I'm the one that said that the Texans could play for an AFC championship or even, get to a second round at minimum. And no one in that division wants to come out and play for it. No one in that division looks good. But
New England Browns. This is a tale of two seasons, though.
The Browns' schedule the rest of the season is easy.
I know, but they just had one of the hardest schedules of anyone in the league. And I think the Patriots had the easiest schedule of anyone in the league. Yes, it's a great defense. You're seeing ghosts there, the boogeyman, all that. But I do think that the Browns season is not over just yet.
I agree.
They played an unreal schedule.
Their division is still wide open.
Yeah, it's still wide open. And they said they have an easier end of their season, which is well-deserved because they've been on the road. They played tough teams.
Playing teams that are on fire.
And then, like the Patriots, I think it gets a little harder here in the middle of the season, but still.
They have to play teams that are even, remotely close to 500.
Yeah, which they're really not used to this season. Who else are we
Are the Eagles back, or did the Buffalo Bills just kind of show their ass? I think the Buffalo Bills are kind of
I like Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
But I think they're a little overrated.
Yeah, they also got away. You talk about the Patriots not playing a tough schedule. The Bills had a very easy schedule.
They had a chance to win that, or at least take control of that game in a way, and they couldn't do it at home.
Blew them out.
And the Eagles still do not look like a very good team.
But again, another division that's still hanging in the balance.
Wide open. But I would say that's more the Bills kind of screwing it up.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's a big game at home. You win that game, it does prove that maybe you should be there. But I think I just spit into the mic there.
We've all done that.
The Bills, I'm out. I'm not out on them, but I don't think they're going to be contenders.
Right. They seem like another one that are going to be in the first, the wild card game and get punched in the face.
And then the 49ers.
Wagon.
They went at home against Carolina.
They covered
51 to 50.
On our Facebook show, we do not on the Facebook show. On our YouTube page, we do a weekly picks. And that was my over, 41.5. The 49ers scored 51 on their own.
Speaking of that, my over hit too.
Did it?
Green Bay,
I had a really
Chiefs.
good week. I'm sitting at, I think I have the Steelers minus 14, so that's not looking good.
But 49ers looking good, but also Carolina not that good. I do need Cam Newton back. I don't know what's going to happen with that, if they're even going to try and risk it.
Who do the Bears have this coming week?
They have the Eagles.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
The Philadelphia Beagles?
The Philadelphia Beagles. If it ties, we form as one team. That's what they said.
I love that
on the Yak.
I love that. Did you watch any college football this weekend?
I watched a little college football. Let's see I'll pull up my gambling on college football.
All right, I'm going to go off. Can I go off for just a second?
Go off.
How is Ohio State not the number one team in the country? I get LSU beat Auburn, but it was at home.
Very good.
Auburn is good. Ohio State hasn't even played a close game this year. They rout Wisconsin. They are blowing teams out of the water. They're not even playing close games. They are the best team in the country.
But are they playing?
Enough of the disrespect.
Are they playing good teams? They lost. Wisconsin just lost to Illinois, and I get it. That's a game you should blow them out. And I'm not saying I really don't think the top three really matter because it's Alabama, it's LSU, Alabama, Ohio State. Those three teams and Clemson. Those four teams, you win all your games, you're going to be in the thing. I think the top four in a way is kind of stupid. I think it just goes off of strength of schedule and teams played. I think if really and truthfully, Ohio State should be mad at their opponents. Wisconsin comes in, they beat Illinois. They're ranked like 5th or 6th in the nation, and then you do
and
what you did to them.
Do that.
Then it would be more of a thing. I think Ohio State you're mad at the people that are doing the rankings. You should be mad at the teams that Ohio State's playing.
Yeah, screw Wisconsin.
Yeah, screw them.
Screw Wisconsin.
Or at least try and be better.
Yeah,
be better until you play Ohio State.
It'll be interesting. I'm excited. Am I like slowly becoming an Ohio State fan? I don't know if I like that.
No, I don't like that at all.
I don't know.
But Urban leaves, and then the aura around them kind of changed. Maybe.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I have 2 frauds for you and an absolute flush them down the toilet. I'm done with them. I hate them. Michigan State, big frauds. We're ranked early. They got smacked around by Penn State. Texas gets punched by TCU.
I think you could see that coming after they almost got punched in the face at home from Kansas.
Both big frauds.
Big frauds. Minnesota, as much as I hate to say it, I think they're a good team.
They are, but I mean,
I like Minnesota, but I'm not a fan of PJ Fleck.
Yeah, same. Me and my dad had this argument the other night about why I don't like PJ Fleck, and he told me I was stupid, but I think his take was stupid. Notre Dame sucks. I'm so glad that I don't even like Michigan.
I don't think Michigan's very good either.
And they just routed
at home, which helps a lot.
Notre Dame.
But 45-14, that's ugly.
That's like the
under. I had
of
the
an
under in that game too. Jim Harbaugh, I get it. You're trying to
just
keep your job, but what are you doing, dude? Stop running.
How about a team that I have said is probably a top 4 team? Oklahoma gets bounced by Kansas State.
Kansas State. Oh wait, I have a question.
Which I did have the over in and covered in the middle of the 3rd quarter.
Illinois goes to Purdue and wins 24-6. They are 9.5-point dogs.
I saw something on Twitter about the possible route that could put Illinois in Indianapolis at the Big Ten championship.
Dude, I mean,
it's going to take Minnesota falling apart.
Well,
and Illinois winning.
I don't think Minnesota has a game they're going to lose. Who they got to play?
I think they got to play Illinois. If they can upset Minnesota,
Illinois
they have to play Wisconsin.
Illinois is playing good. I mean, Purdue is not very good. But they got momentum on their side.
I know. Don't look now, but yeah. Oklahoma goes down, and then, yeah, man, I think we're almost there. We're not there yet, but we're getting to the point where there's going to be some really meaningful football. Like, I know that Wisconsin's going to have to play Minnesota. That game's going to mean a lot. I can see Wisconsin winning that game.
Yeah.
So it's getting to the nitty-gritty. I don't think there's anybody out west that I'm super impressed with. Oregon barely holds on to beat Washington State. I think Utah's probably the best team out west, but, we also had Boise State lose to BYU.
Next week, big game for your Gators, hosting Georgia.
Yeah, that's
who has kind of fallen apart here at the end of the season in Georgia. Not a lot of other big games going on. We got not Oregon USC, which would have been a bigger game at the beginning of the year. I think LSU may have a bye week. I think they do have a bye. I think I'm right. Because I think week 11, is that when they play?
Who's that?
LSU. They play Bama in 2 weeks, so they had this. I think it's a bye week for both those teams.
Yeah, I think
that's a huge game.
This is one of my favorite games of the year. The Florida Georgia game.
No, I'm talking about the LSU.
Yeah, I know that, but that's so stupid to play.
In a way, Georgia's kind of ruined that. I mean, Florida needs them coming in undefeated.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not saying
they're both sitting at 6-1, but
I'm not saying it's gonna be a big game. But
I'm
going off the Ohio State thing.
Yeah,
you come in
undefeated.
Georgia's ranked 2, 3, 4 in the nation, and you get to beat them at home. That would look a lot better for your resume. So, like I said, a lot of these college teams, you should just get mad at the opponents that are coming in that you think you can beat.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter after they lose 2 or 3 before they come. But like I said, they're both 7-1.
6-6.
I think Florida's 7-1.
Are they? Maybe Georgia. Yeah, Georgia's 6-1. Florida's 7-1.
Oh, okay. I don't know. This is just a coincidence. Florida in 2 weeks plays Vanderbilt, who is looking at Jeff Fisher as their head coach.
They can have him.
No, I'm just saying I love the whole Jeff Fisher. I think Jeff Fisher's a cool.
I do. He's a nice guy.
He seemed like a nice guy when he was on the PMT.
Yep.
But he's very. Even they can go. How many games are there in college? 12.
12, and then
so they go 6-6, 7-6.
Yeah, they'd probably go 7-7,
yeah.
right? Because they'd get a bowl. They play if they could play for a conference championship.
Oh, I was gonna say, I'm like, where's the extra game?
Yeah,
man? I was like trying to make sure.
No, maybe it would be 13. What is Jeff Fisher gonna do?
Yeah.
But hey, let's get to it, man. Probably one of our favorite interviews.
Wait.
Did I miss something?
No, I just want to plug the if you want to get our week week 9 coming up in the NFL, our TCF NFL Pick Show week 9. I was 2-2 before the late game. We both won the late game.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know what I took.
We're both going to lose this game, I think. I think we took different sides this game. You took the Dolphins.
Did I?
I don't think so.
Whatever you took, I took the opposite of.
I took the Pittsburgh. I don't think you took the Dolphins.
So on our YouTube page, we'll have that out sometime this week of our picks for the week 9 slate. But thank you for checking out our week 9 recap of the college football.
Yep.
We're really getting into the nitty-gritty of the season. It's getting fun. The NFL, sadly, for this podcast per se, typical Chicago fan podcast, the Bears season may be coming to not an end per se, but it may be a cancel situation in the next few weeks because the schedule doesn't get easier for the Bears. It gets harder and harder. You got division. You got to play Detroit twice still. You still got to play the Vikings. Still got to play the Packers again.
Bay, yeah. It's not like you get us at home
again. But I didn't mean to cut you off there. But let's get into it.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited for
our interview with Eddie Barstool. We've been following this guy for a long time, ever since he got hopped on to the Red Line Radio, even before it was brought under the, like you're saying, umbrella of the Barstool. Yep. I've always loved all of his stuff. He is one of my favorites out there. His podcast, Chicago Dog Walk, I listen to every single day.
Every day.
For a guy like me, sometimes I forget, but this is a podcast that I try and catch every
100%.
single day. We're big fans of his. We're lucky enough for him to come on and give us some of his time. Here it is, Eddie Barstool.
Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome onto the podcast a man who we are big fans of. He's an SIU Saluki alumni, a Chicago guy through and through, and a member of Barstool Chicago, where he's a co-host on the Red Line podcast, and also hosts a daily podcast called the Chicago Dog Walk. You can find him on Twitter at Eddie Barstool. Eddie, thanks so much for coming on tonight. How you doing, my man?
Good, guys. Thanks for having me. I mean, good, I should say. I mean, the best as I can do with how bad the Bears are, right?
That's what I was kind of like. I was so happy when Zach said you were coming on, but I'm like, I mean, he can't be feeling great.
No, it's definitely it's definitely not last year.
Definitely.
It's come and gone, absolutely. So yeah, it kind of sucks, to be honest with you. But yeah, we're here, we're 3-4, and that's just the way it is, I guess.
Right, and we kind of talked about that too. Like, it does seem like very sky is falling, doom and gloom right now. But at the end of the day, like 3-4 is not mean you're out of it. Do you see any chance of hope that the Bears can somehow slide into like a wild card spot?
Not really, to be honest with you, man. I mean, I think there's something like if you start 3-4. You got a less than 20% chance.
Ooh.
Or just a little over 10% chance to make the playoffs. So, I mean, even just going, not even based on analytics, I just don't know. I just don't know if I see this team getting that much better. Because hypothetically, you got to win out or maybe lose 1 or 2 more games. And I don't know. I'm just not really, especially after that Saints game. And people forget the Chargers are really bad.
Yeah.
We just lost to them. So, as far as I'm concerned, I don't want to say I'm throwing the towel because I'm going to watch, obviously, the last 9 games, but I would say that we are not going to make the playoffs.
At this point, we've seen both the good and bad from Mitch and Matt Nagy. Who do you think is more worrisome right now? I know Mitch, we can kind of get out of it in the next few years, but Matt Nagy, with his press conferences and stuff, was kind of shown that maybe he gets a little flustered. Have you worried for the next few years?
Yeah, I would say I'm more worried about Nagy because, I mean, look, Mitch is Mitch. He wasn't great last year. He was better, but now we kind of see what he is. We didn't see this type of this type of character and the questionable play calling out of Nagy as much last year. So if you lose your quarterback and then if you don't have a head coach, then that probably means the GM is going along with them. And if all those 3 guys go, that means pretty much there's going to be a hard reset, which means a rebuild. And I mean, someone else comes, they're going to want their guys, and it could be a totally different ballgame. So I would definitely say I'm more worried about Nagy at this point.
Absolutely. So do you blame most of what is happening right now? Do you think it's more on the play calling than it is on anything, or is it Mitch? Is it the running game? What do you contribute the most to the struggling of the Bears offense right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably split it between Mitch and Nagy because at the end of the day, Mitch hit some of those throws. We're probably not 3 and 4, right? I mean, we lost one game 10-3. So we lost by a touchdown in one game. We lost yesterday by 1. Obviously, we got blown out by the Saints, and then the Chase Daniel game. Who knows? Obviously, Mitch didn't play, but it could be a different ball game. But as far as the play calling, it's just been very head scratching, especially yesterday with the 45 seconds and deciding to settle for a 41-yarder. So once again, I mean, I don't want to throw it on either of their shoulders, but it's probably more Mitch, obviously, but Nagy has his fair share of blame too, I'd say.
There's a lot of confusion in his press conference. Like, he says, we don't want to run the ball because they know you're going to run the ball, so you're going to lose 2 to 3 or maybe 4 yards on that. But when you kneel the ball, you lose 1 to 2 yards anyways. I just didn't get his logic around the whole 1,000 out of 1,000 times I'm going to do that exact same thing.
Yeah, then he said even before the rush, before the speak, before Trubisky's run, that we were in field goal range in general. So what's he talking about taking a sack? If we were in range anyways, So I don't know, it was weird. It was even weirder how he decided to go about it and kind of fake laugh at the media, and he handled it pretty poorly, I'd say. So
I would think as the players in the locker room, you hear your coach worried about you fumbling on a play like that. That kind of would make me not think that my coach had any trust in us.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point. I think I don't know how they took that. To be honest with you, it seems like most of those guys don't give a crap about what the media has to say, because how many times they've dodged him and everything. But you bring up a good point for sure.
On another related note, Eddie, who do you got in the NFC title game? We actually had this discussion a little bit earlier. Do you have a prediction right now as to who we might see out of the NFC in the title game this year?
I don't know. The Niners look like a wagon right now, right?
Definitely. I think so, too. Put up 51 yesterday, covered the over on their own.
Yeah, that's pretty damn impressive. Packers look great, unfortunately. The Vikings made a little bit of a resurgence, which is interesting. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. We'll see. Obviously, maybe Drew Brees, he's got one more kind of stashed in him, but I don't know. There's a lot of good teams. It's still we're halfway done, and it's still almost too early to tell.
Absolutely.
Because some of these teams are going to fall off as well.
Oh, 100%. I think, and then you look at the NFC East, and there's we were talking about, there's no one there that strikes fear in the eyes of anybody. It could come down to a couple teams in the same division, and the West and the North, I feel, are just loaded with talent, and then you have the East is not. It just doesn't look that good. So, what about the AFC? Obviously, I think the Patriots are probably the most obvious pick. But do you see anybody else out of the AFC?
I gotta be honest. I don't know how anyone can say anybody else besides the Patriots.
Yeah.
Right now, I mean, we've always knew their offense can get it done, but the defense is playing on a skill level. So I don't even want to go there, to be honest with you, because I don't see anybody holding a candle to them right now.
Absolutely. I was kind of thinking that last night while we were sitting around watching the game, because the Chiefs are kind of falling apart. It's
and for your sake, Eddie, we don't. I know I love listening to Eddie Mondays. We don't need any audio of you saying anything against the Patriots for Dave to have any ammo against you.
I appreciate that. So he knows what he's got for sure. He doesn't. He's not afraid to tell you, that's for sure.
And the bad thing is it's always backed up. That's the problem. It's every time it's backed up with the Patriots.
Yeah,
just never ends.
Never ends. But I just seen that the Bulls have come to an end. They just lost to the Knicks, unfortunately.
The Bulls lost to the Knicks tonight?
It looked like they had it in the bag at first. Do you have any expectations for the Bulls this year?
Honestly, I don't, which I think is great because I still think they're fun, which I know kind of coincides, but it's like I don't have any. I don't know, coming into the season with the Bears with so many expectations. and it kind of ruined everything.
Yeah.
Because, that's making the season that much harder to bear. But just knowing that there was no expectation of the Bulls and how young they are and how fun they are, something in this roster in the league. So I'm just having a fun time watching them. They're going to struggle, and who knows, maybe they'll sneak an 8 seed, but even if they don't, then it's, I think they're doing some good things over there, though.
I agree. It's so weird. I look back like a year ago from now and how like down in the dumps we were about the Bulls, and now it's like, yeah, they lost a couple games early, but like it almost feels like there's like a light at the end of the tunnel. There's hope for the future, which I think gives makes you feel a little bit better. But getting into your podcast, Eddie, I got to tell you, man, I literally download and listen to Dog Walk every day. So I got to ask you, where did the idea come to you to do something like that, a daily podcast just about life in Chicago and people in Chicago? What was the logic behind that?
You know what, man? When we went full time January 1st, they gave us a Chicago podcast, and they said they wanted it to be daily, 10 to 15, 20 minutes. They gave me the format, and they put me in charge of being the one to run it. And they that's a great thing about Barstool, they kind of just gave you a blank slate.
Mm-hmm.
So I could have done whatever I wanted with the show. But I don't know, I've always just been someone who just been curious about everything. That's just kind of who I am. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, how does he pretend to be so curious? And it's not pretending at all. Like, I just genuinely, if I see someone walking on the street and they're wearing something funky or they're doing something weird, I'm just always been that person to be like, hey, I'm not afraid to ask, what is that, dude? So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of been the inspiration, I guess.
Absolutely. Do you have a favorite episode or a favorite interview that you've ever done on the show?
You know what? I think some of these people have been so good. And, now that the year's coming to an end, I've been kind of thinking about that. I don't know if I have an answer yet, to be honest with you. What's your favorite? How about that?
Okay.
Mine's the guy who run the bowling store with the bowling ball.
That was amazing.
It was just the way, because the way he's just so genuine. It was just so, everything was just so real with the guy. Like when he picked up the phone in the middle because he told you that work keeps moving. I'm going to do the interview, but work's going to keep moving. And just the genuine love for bowling ball, which it's just not a lot of, what did you say, 2 stores in the whole city?
Yeah, there's only 2. There's one on the north side, one on the south side. He was great, man. That guy was no joke. He was, it was all business.
All right, my favorite was, I can't remember, and now this is going to be bad because it was my favorite, but I don't remember if he was a mailman or a UPS man, and I know you had both, but it was the guy who talked about, like, walking into the house and the ladies with their robes open, and he had, like, thickest accent, like the thickest Chicago accent you could imagine. That guy was so funny.
Yeah, that was the UPS guy.
Yes.
He was great.
Oh, he, like... It reminded, like, if Doug Heffernan from King of Queens in, like, 40 years did a podcast, that's exactly what he would be like, but with a Chicago accent.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's my dad's good buddy. It was like, that must have been a week 2 or 3 of the show.
Oh.
Still at that point, I didn't really know what I was going to do with it. I just kind of texted my dad's buddy to see, kind of, hey, let's talk about UPS, and, that's kind of how it went.
Last week was a little weird with the dominatrix. That was
wild.
a little
That
wild.
was wild.
Were you comfortable? Like, did you ever get uncomfortable during that one?
You know what? I just kind of come from, I don't know, I guess a setting like with buddies and with whoever, where I'm pretty comfortable with whatever. It's kind of hard to faze me in that aspect, but there was definitely some jaw-dropping stuff that those girls had to say.
Definitely.
I'm not comfortable that people like that exist in this world.
When she said something about selling her panties, the video of your face was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the guys who are doing that.
That is like the guy who was one of the ladies was the guy at the Bean, right? Getting the dog walked around. That's just crazy
so
that you're
weird.
Doing that in front of so many people. That's just insane, I think.
Oh, that's
crazy.
And hey, we've had Chief on the podcast before, and me and Zach were talking about this before we went on. He's like, I'm a big conspiracy theory guy. I love, government and politics and stuff. So you guys and your Tinfoil Tuesdays are usually the 2 best of the week. 2 of the best podcasts I listen to. So you and Chief keep those up, man. Those are great.
Sweet, thanks, man. I'm happy you enjoy them. We're definitely happy that we got kind of a little mix there on Tuesday, for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, hey man, we hope things get better. You know, with the Bears, I feel like I said earlier, they're 3-4, but I just don't know if you count them out just yet. There's still to me, there's this weird glimmer of hope, and I think it's probably because the defense is so good. But I don't know, man. I hope things get better.
Yeah, listen, if you want to be hopeful, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being hopeful, so, be hopeful.
At this point, that's all we got for the Bears. But real quick, I know you're a Cub fan. What do you think of David Ross, the hiring?
I love the presser today. I love what Theo had to say about him. I think he's going to bring kind of an attitude where it's like he might be not the sternest cat in the room, but he's going to be a guy you don't want to disappoint,
Right. Yeah, because like you said,
I think that's equally as important.
A lot of those guys are actually friends with him and have a real relationship. You wouldn't want to let down somebody like that, especially because they know what's at stake for him. This is his first chance, and if it goes bad, it could be his last chance.
Exactly. You're exactly right. And I think, he doesn't want to fail. No one wants to fail in life, right? So He's coming there. He took that job with the intent of winning, and I think he's going to do his best, and I think he's going to make sure he puts it in, the best possible position to win for the Cubs. So.
I agree, man. I just hope they can fix the bullpen. We talked about this at length.
I'm not really worried about the hiring of the coach. I'm more worried about the players on the field next year.
Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see what. I got a feeling Theo's going to shake it up pretty good, so we'll see.
That's what I like to hear, man. That's what I love to hear. So, like we said, follow Eddie at Eddie Barstool. We got into it a little bit. Check out Chicago Dog Walk, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, right, Eddie?
Yes, Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, every Google Play, wherever you can find podcasts.
And didn't you just start recently doing the videos? Don't you tape it every day and put it on YouTube? Is that
it's 7
correct?
at night, right, when it comes out?
Yeah, check out the Barstool Chicago YouTube. Check out the site. I upload it to the site at night. Speaking of which, I got to go do that tonight at some point. But, check those out for sure, too.
Well, we'll let you get to that. Thanks so much for coming on, man. We really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Good luck with the show. I know how it is to kind of be in the basement right there like you guys are.
Absolutely.
Just keep grinding away and making things happen, man. So I'm happy to do it. I know you guys have been hitting me up for a while, so it's great to be on.
Absolutely, man. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Yep, you too, man.
Thank you so much to our guy, Eddie Barstool, for coming on the podcast with us.
Cool.
So cool. It felt like an awesome conversation we had with him. Like I said, we get a little starstruck, like Boomy.
I get starstruck every time we do an interview with anybody.
But this guy, like I said, we listen to his voice every single day with the Chicago Dog Walk, Red Line, all that stuff. Sometimes he's on Barstool Radio every Monday, Eddie Mondays. But it was a great conversation. Just a genuinely nice guy. You can just tell by just the way he did the interview with us. He was asking us questions. We were asking him questions. Great conversation. Check him out on Twitter at Eddie Barstool. Like I said, he does the Dog Walk every Monday through Friday. Red Line's like twice a week now. One is the regular episode. One's like a Bears preview or Bears breakdown, which has just kind of been sad lately because we get into it, but the Bears have kind of broke both of our spirits.
Yep.
And then every Monday, I think it's be our time. It would be about like 3:30. He's on Barstool Radio, which is like channel 85. He does Eddie Mondays, and it's always, like I said, it's been sad lately. But again, thank you to our guy, Eddie Barstool.
Yes. Make sure you go follow him and tell him thank you for coming on.
Yeah, great guy. Awesome for coming on. A little podcast. He even said at the end, the grind of it. We appreciate him coming on, giving us his time on a Monday night to come on just a little podcast like ours. And it was really appreciated. It really makes you – there's nice people out there. There's good guys.
The world is – we talked about love earlier.
Yeah.
How love is not dead. There's still good people out in the world, man. Makes you feel good and tingly going into Monday night.
We kind of got into it with him at the end of the podcast, but then the interview about David Ross. We were talking about it. Boomy, what's your thoughts on it?
Okay, so I think Eddie made some good points. I just feel like we missed an opportunity with Joe Espada. That's the only way I look at it.
We took the easy route in hiring David Ross. He may be a good coach. He has relationships with John Lester, Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, a lot of the guys on the team. But I think overall Espada would have been a better choice. He seems like the more manager type. Theo went out of his way today to make sure that people knew that he is not a puppet. David Ross is nowhere near a puppet. If they wanted one, they wouldn't have hired David Ross. I think that's false. I think they know that David Ross will do whatever Theo wants him to do, which is what a manager should usually do. Want to do,
especially
always,
when you have a proven
but that should
GM.
not. But that should not be the reason why you're hired.
I don't hate it. I shouldn't make it sound like I hate it.
don't.
I just really liked what Joe Espada brought to the table, and I hope I'm wrong. I will eat crow if I'm wrong.
And even if we are wrong, that doesn't mean David Ross is a good manager.
Right. Because there's still so many variables between now and the first game. Like, we talked about it with Eddie, like, they have to go fix this bullpen.
The hire really didn't matter either. I mean, we can hire somebody that is just been, he's had one World Series or whatever and stuff like that. If the roster isn't up to par for a playoff team, then it doesn't matter. Exactly. And this team that they put on the field this year, you could say what you want about the roster and the bullpen. It just wasn't there. You don't lose 8 games at the end of the year in the biggest games of the year and it just be a lineup change or a pitching change. It's the players on the field. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it does it at this point. Yeah, they had a great press conference. Everyone loved it. Everyone likes David Ross. But until they get on the field, until it gets into the August and September of the year, then you won't know what he's really all about.
And the thing that does give me a little bit extra hope is you're seeing managers that are former players. AJ Hinch was a former player. Davey Martinez was a former player coaching in the World Series right now. Now, I'm not expecting it to be right away, but you're also seeing guys that are coming right up the field. Rocco Baldelli. I mean, there's so many guys that are jumping right in. They're having success. Maybe there's going to be some sort of correlation in there. So I'm going to hope for the best. I like David Ross a lot, and I'm not going to be a pessimist. So
there's nothing else you can really do about it.
Yeah.
He's the coach. They gave him a 3-year deal. I think he's going to have a little bit of room here in the first year, but you are in a window for Cub fans want to win right 100%. Now. And as much as we love him right now, as much as everyone loves David Ross, he won us the World Series, it could turn as quickly as that. You make some decisions that people don't like. You lose some games that people don't think you should have lost. That it's going to change, and really and truthfully, that's when you're going to find out what kind of a manager he is. And it kind of goes in the way of Matt Nagy. When adversity came this year, he's kind of went the route of getting mad at the media, lashing out at the media, saying, why would you ask that question when it's obviously a good question to ask when you just did what you did on the field. So really interesting, David Ross. It's a hire I wasn't the biggest fan of, but you won't know anything right now. You will 100%. Know it when hopefully it matters at the end of the season next year, where you will find that out.
Yep.
So all you can hope for is some good moves. The Blackhawks, let me see,
I know the Bulls
3-5-2. They're 3-5-2 right now. They had a big. I think they were supposed to beat the Kings, but they had.
Yeah,
the
Kings were not good.
They won by like 4 goals. The other night.
I think it was 5-1.
Tough defensive start to begin the year. The offense really hasn't also been there. Jonathan Tays not looking to start out the greatest this year, but I think those guys will come around. Kane's always there to brink it. Shaw's back, so I think
Corey Crawford looks terrible.
He's terrible.
1-4.
Is it Lehner?
Leonard.
I think he's going to be the obvious one, and Crawford may end up in Rockford at some point this year.
He might just retire.
I mean, I think that's what he kind of needs to.
Yeah, I mean, I love the guy I have. He's one of the few active players whose jersey I own. I love Corey Crawford, but I think the time is up.
Also, I know we're not really a big hockey podcast, but if you are a fan of the old school Blackhawks, and as I say, that 2010 to about 2007, was it 16 a lot? They won their last 15. Go check out. It's called Spittin' Chicklets podcast. They sat down with Brent Sopel and Sopel and Duncan Keith.
Yeah,
very cool. And they got a few more coming with. I think they got Kirby Dash, but those are 2 out those 2 are out right now, and they relive some of the awesome days of Chicago Blackhawks when they were 2010. Yeah. Duncan Keith has some crazy stories. That was right before the cell phone. I mean, he said maybe one guy in the team had a cell phone. They were just having fun with it. Like, the way hockey was back before social media kind of ruined it. So, like I said, if you're a fan of the old school and I should say old school, but the Blackhawks of 2010, the Dynasty Blackhawks, go check that out. 2 great interviews. And I like that podcast. It's Biz Nasty, Ryan Whitney, and Rear Admiral. I'm not a big hockey guy.
Start calling you a Muppet.
Yeah, but I think that I love that podcast.
Yeah.
I've subscribed to it. Not a big hockey guy, but I just like their back and forth, and it kind of gets me into
They're
hockey.
funny too.
They're
yeah.
funny,
and you learn something because I know
Yeah.
probably the least about hockey.
It makes those are both great interviews too. Brent Sopel, a little bit you dive into. I didn't know he is dyslexic.
Oh, I didn't know. That
And the
either.
way he went about finding it out, he just was. I mean, he couldn't. The way he couldn't read and stuff, and it gets kind of emotional, but also it's a very cool interview, and they really can. Especially with having two former hockey players on there, it seems like the hockey guys kind of warm up to them more because I can see that being those be tough interviews.
Absolutely.
So he said, Spittin' Chicklets, go check that out. And the Bulls lost tonight to the Knicks. I think it's gonna be a tough season, but like we said with Eddie said, it's gonna be a fun season. There's no expectations really to it.
There's hope.
There's hope. It's young guys that are going to be for the future.
But you can't lose to the Knicks and the Hornets in the matter of a week. Those two teams suck.
No,
they
but
are the two of the worst teams in the NBA, and you lose by 1 to the Hornets and you lose by 7 to the Knicks. That's garbage.
It's tough, but like I
That's
said,
garbage.
We'll move on. The Bulls will keep
try.
it going. Jim Boylan has low key been under the radar. You really don't. It doesn't matter.
Give me a couple weeks.
Give me a
and I'll
couple
be ready
weeks.
to throw him in front of the bus.
He has put in a punch clock.
He's a clown.
You clock in every time you get to the Advocate Center.
What was it, 1976?
These dudes are making $25 million a year.
He's gonna put in a punch clock.
You
Kiss
think
my
that?
ass,
You think
Jim
Zach
Boylan.
Levine's gonna clock in every day?
Shut up. He's such an idiot. I can't stand him.
It is insane. Especially, you know what's insane though? The amount of money these guys are
NBA
actually-
money is stupid money.
It is insane.
I mean, but it makes sense. There's only 14 guys on a roster.
As I said,
And there's
and we
30
say, well, what
teams.
about NFL? That's because there's 53
guys on every
guys
team.
on a team. Well, there's 53 guys on a
53-man
roster.
roster, yeah.
So, and then there's the practice
squad.
guys and the coach. I mean, there's what,
like
15 coaches?
Yeah. And then there's like 30 managers and
Your company's worth billions, but you have way too many people.
with everybody else.
Well, thank you for watching watching episode 54 of Typical Chicago Fans, presented by From the Sideline. It's our Brian Urlacher episode. It's our Hall of Fame episode, and that's why we
How
had
fitting was that?
to
Brian
have
Urlacher,
Eddie, Barstool,
and
I
Eddie.
just put that together, actually.
I know.
We meant to do it the whole time.
Yeah,
We've had it
absolutely.
set up
We
for-
had it written on the board
We've
over
had it
there.
set up for weeks. But again, thank you to Eddie Barstool for coming on the podcast. It really means a lot to us.
Yes.
Even those guys that have a big following, that he works at Barstool, he's got a lot of jobs there, podcasting and blogging and all that kind of stuff, and he gives us the time of day the time of night. At 8 o'clock. We just recorded that at 8 o'clock. He got done with his laundry, and he hopped on with us, and we had a great interview. Always a great interview. Like I said, we also had Barstool Chief on before, so shout out to
if
Barstool
you haven't-
Chicago.
We got half of them.
We got half of them. But again, thank you for watching.
I don't think we're ever going to get to to 100%.
We wouldn't mind. Who
I
knows?
have zero interest in talking to White Sox Dave.
I think it'd be good. I think
I might call in sick that night.
that's fine. I think I do.
You
That
can
may be
talk to
better
White
interview
Sox
between me and him because the troll would meet the troll.
Yeah,
you guys
exactly.
you guys would maybe have a troll.
It'd be
off.
the Spider-Man meme.
Yeah, you guys would. No one would be able to talk. You guys would just argue the whole time. But thank you, listening, watching. We love you all. Oh no! Wait.
What's your Twitter, dummy?
Shoot, sorry. My Twitter is @ZLilja, LILJATCF. The main page is @typical_Chicago. If you want to follow From the Sideline on Twitter, you may just want to type that in the search bar, or @sideline. The first I in sideline is a one sport. Instagram. We're actually doing a little after the podcast ping pong, which will be Instagram Live, so you'll know the outcome of that. And From the Sideline is on Instagram. Facebook, we are changing up a little bit here. We are, it's Cave Talk. Cave Talk?
Cave Talk. The
Is it
name
Cave-
is changing. It's the same show.
It's just Cave Talk, right? Is it Cave Talk with TCF?
Either way.
Either way,
We haven't
we're
fine-tuned
changing it up a little bit. It's usually been a weekday show. We may do it weekdays. We may not do weekdays. But we will give you more advance than we had before. We're going to get a new logo. We're going to be.
And it also gives us freedom. We can bounce weekdays, weekends. There's no days or weekends strapped to the
and we
name,
think we
so-
just like the name a little bit more too.
Yeah.
Weekdays with TCF just kind of didn't come off the tongue right. We like this a little more. But that will be debuting here in the next few days or so. Maybe this weekend. We'll let you know. But Boomy, where can they listen to our podcast at?
You can find us on Apple Podcasts. Type in Typical Chicago Fan, subscribe, rate, and review. You can also find us on Spotify. Make sure you follow us there. And Make sure you follow me on Twitter at BoomyTCF. But more importantly than that, go to the YouTube page because I spent like 5 or 6 hours putting videos up there last week. So please go to YouTube, type in Typical Chicago Fans.
We'll have our
subscribe, and then when you're done with that, go over to Twitter, follow at BoomyTCF.
And then we'll have our full interview with Barstool Eddie up on there. We got all of our former
Clips,
interviews on there,
yeah.
clips, everything. We'll be doing a lot more with that. If I can get my computer to cooperate and my phone, we'll get the Impossible Burger review. I've had some thoughts in my mind of what it's going to look like, but for some reason I can't get it onto my computer. That's why I think I need to get.
And also stay tuned. We're going to be doing some giveaways here. We're in the giving mood. The holidays are coming up, so between here and Christmas, we've got about 5 or 6 giveaways planned. So,
yes, we do.
So stay tuned.
Check that out. We love you all.
Peace.